When we talk about extending lifespan, most people focus on diet, exercise, or genetics. Yet, one of the most underrated pillars of longevity is sleep. It's often mistaken as a passive state, something we can trade off for productivity or social life. But biologically, sleep is not a luxury. It's a fundamental necessity for survival and optimal functioning. Every night, the body and brain undergo intricate physiological and biochemical transformations that determine how well we live, think, and age. When we begin to understand sleep not as wasted time, but as active maintenance, the entire perspective on health span changes. Sleep serves as the body's nightly recalibration system. Every organ, every hormone, and every neural pathway depends on the quality and consistency of sleep to function correctly. During waking hours, the brain and body accumulate metabolic waste, oxidative stress, and cellular damage. Sleep is when repair, detoxification, and rebalancing occur. Without this nightly restoration, systems begin to malfunction. Glucose regulation falters, immune defenses weaken, emotional regulation deteriorates, and the body's ability to repair itself declines. Research shows that even one night of restricted sleep impairs insulin sensitivity by up to 30% and increases cortisol levels, setting the stage for metabolic dysfunction. When these patterns persist chronically, they accelerate the biological aging process and elevate the risk of diseases such as type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and Alzheimer's. The brain, in particular, is one of sleep's greatest beneficiaries. During deep sleep, the glymphatic system, a network of fluid channels in the brain, flushes out toxins that accumulate during waking hours, including beta amyloid and tau proteins linked to neurodegenerative diseases. Inadequate sleep impairs this cleansing process, leading to toxic build-up and long-term cognitive decline. In fact, chronic short sleepers show measurable reductions in gray matter volume in regions of the brain responsible for memory, emotional regulation, and decision-making. The cognitive impact of sleep loss is so pronounced that being awake for 20 hours produces the same performance deficits as being legally intoxicated. Beyond the brain, the endocrine and immune systems are also profoundly influenced by sleep. The nightly secretion of growth hormone peaks during slow wave sleep, driving tissue repair, muscle growth, and cellular regeneration. This is the biological foundation of recovery that athletes and longevity enthusiasts depend on. When sleep is disrupted, growth hormone output declines. While stress hormones like cortisol rise, the result is slower physical recovery, decreased muscle mass, and impaired immune response. Studies show that sleep-deprived individuals are 3 times more likely to catch a common cold when exposed to a virus compared to those who sleep adequately. The immune system depends on consistent, deep sleep to produce cytokines and antibodies that defend against infections and inflammation. What's fascinating is how tightly sleep is integrated into circadian rhythm, the body's 24-hour internal clock. Hormone release, body temperature, digestion, and cellular metabolism all operate according to this rhythm. Sleep anchors it. When we disrupt our sleep patterns through irregular bedtimes, late night light exposure, or shift work, we fragment this delicate system. The misalignment between the circadian rhythm and external environment is associated with metabolic disorders, obesity, mood disturbances, and even cancer risk. This is why protecting sleep consistency is as critical as maintaining sleep duration. The timing of sleep determines how effectively the brain and body enter restorative cycles. Many people assume they can catch up on sleep during weekends, but research shows that lost sleep cannot be fully recovered. Chronic partial sleep deprivation leaves behind residual cognitive and physiological damage. The body may adapt to feeling functional, but function is not the same as optimal. Over time, even mild sleep loss leads to chronic inflammation, mitochondrial dysfunction, and epigenetic changes that accelerate aging. The irony is that we often sacrifice sleep in the name of productivity, not realizing that the very act of skipping sleep undermines the mental clarity, creativity, and energy we seek to preserve. In terms of health span, the argument is simple. The quality of your sleep determines the quality of your years. Sleep orchestrates the recovery and regulation of virtually every system that keeps us youthful, resilient, and cognitively sharp. It shapes how long we age, not just how long we live. The evidence is overwhelming. Consistent, high-quality sleep reduces the risk of chronic disease, preserves cognitive health, and enhances emotional stability. It's not about sleeping longer than necessary, but sleeping in alignment with the body's natural cycles and giving it the full opportunity to perform its nightly repair work. Understanding sleep as a biological priority reframes how we approach health optimization. It's not an optional indulgence or a variable to manipulate. It's as essential as nutrition or exercise, perhaps even more foundational. Every night of sufficient high-quality sleep invest in your future cognitive capacity, metabolic balance, and emotional resilience. Neglecting it may not show immediate consequences, but its cumulative effect is profound and irreversible. Sleep is not the absence of wakefulness. It is the foundation upon which every waking moment depends. Deep sleep, also known as slow wave sleep, is one of the most crucial yet least appreciated physiological processes in the human body. It is the period when the brain and body disengage from external stimuli and shift into an intensive state of repair, restoration, and rejuvenation. In this stage, the body performs functions that no medication, supplement, or biohack can replicate. It is when the hardware of the human organism is maintained, cells are repaired, energy reserves are replenished, and the immune and endocrine systems are recalibrated. This stage of sleep is not merely about rest. It is a biologically orchestrated process that determines how effectively we recover from physical and mental exertion, how resilient our metabolism remains, and how well we age. During deep sleep, the electrical activity in the brain slows into high amplitude, low frequency waves known as delta waves. This synchronized neural rhythm facilitates communication between brain regions, allowing for critical housekeeping processes. One of the most vital mechanisms activated during deep sleep is the glymphatic system, a network of cerebrospinal fluid channels that wash through the brain, removing toxic waste products accumulated during waking hours. Among these wastes are beta, amyloid, and tau proteins, which, when left uncleared, contribute to the progression of neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's. This nightly cleaning cycle essentially serves as the brain's detoxification system, and it operates most effectively during deep sleep. When people consistently fail to reach or sustain this stage, these neurotoxins build up, impairing cognitive function and accelerating neurological aging. Deep sleep also represents the body's peak anabolic window. It is the time when growth hormone secretion reaches its highest levels, driving tissue repair, muscle growth, and cellular regeneration. For athletes, this phase is indispensable for recovery and performance. For everyone else, it is the invisible process that keeps muscle strong, bones dense, and metabolism stable. When deep sleep is shortened or fragmented, growth hormone output declines, which leads to slower recovery from physical exertion, reduced lean muscle mass, and accelerated fat accumulation. In parallel, cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, remains elevated, disrupting glucose metabolism and increasing insulin resistance. Over time, this imbalance contributes to weight gain, chronic fatigue, and metabolic disorders such as type 2 diabetes. The immune system, too, relies on deep sleep as a period of recalibration. During slow wave sleep, the body produces cytokines, proteins that help regulate inflammation and fight infections. When sleep is disrupted, cytokine production falls and immune function weakens, making individuals more susceptible to illness. A landmark study showed that participants who slept less than 6 hours a night were more than 3 times as likely to catch a cold after exposure to a virus compared to those who slept 7 or more hours. This link between deep sleep and immune competence underscores how critical this phase is for maintaining long-term resilience against disease. Another vital role of deep sleep is its impact on metabolic and cardiovascular health. It stabilizes blood pressure, slows heart rate, and enhances parasympathetic nervous system activity, the rest and digest state. When deep sleep is compromised, sympathetic activity remains elevated, leading to chronic stress responses and vascular inflammation. This physiological pattern increases the risk of hypertension, atherosclerosis, and other cardiovascular conditions. In a broader sense, deep sleep acts as a nightly reset button for homeostasis, maintaining balance in all bodily systems. Importantly, deep sleep is front-loaded in the night, meaning that the majority of it occurs during the first half of a full sleep cycle. This is why going to bed late or cutting total sleep duration disproportionately reduces time spent in slow wave sleep. Even if total hours in bed remain similar, a delayed bedtime often results in less deep sleep and poorer recovery quality. Modern lifestyle factors, late night screen exposure, alcohol consumption, and stress suppress deep sleep by interfering with circadian rhythm and thermoregulation. Alcohol, for instance, may make it easier to fall asleep initially, but it fragments slow wave sleep and diminishes the release of growth hormone, effectively sabotaging recovery. Deep sleep's influence extends even into psychological well-being. Chronic lack of it heightens amygdala reactivity, the brain's emotional alarm system, while reducing regulation from the prefrontal cortex. This imbalance manifests as irritability, anxiety, and impaired emotional control. Essentially, deep sleep is not just physical restoration, it's emotional resilience in biochemical form. The brain needs this phase to reset its stress response, strengthen neural pathways associated with calmness and decision-making, and suppress those linked with fear and impulsivity. The implications of deep sleep for Healthspan cannot be overstated. It determines how efficiently the body repairs itself, how robustly it responds to stressors, and how clearly the mind functions over decades. Without sufficient slow wave sleep, the foundations of physical and cognitive health begin to erode silently. Many people mistakenly believe they can adapt to less sleep, but research consistently shows that the body does not habituate to chronic sleep deprivation. Instead, it accumulates physiological debt that manifests as disease, cognitive decline, and premature aging. The most advanced longevity strategies: exercise, nutrition, stress management, lose much of their effectiveness without the biological repair that occurs during deep sleep. Deep sleep and REM sleep are often spoken about as if they are separate and independent, but in truth, they form a tightly woven partnership that defines the overall architecture of restorative sleep. Each serves a distinct purpose, deep sleep repairing the body and REM sleep rejuvenating the mind. But their coordination is what enables full recovery. The human sleep cycle, which lasts roughly 90 minutes, alternates between these stages multiple times a night, with the balance shifting as the night progresses. The first half of sleep is dominated by deep, slow wave activity, while the second half tilts toward longer REM periods. This interplay is not coincidental. It's a precisely timed biological rhythm shaped by evolution to maximize recovery, energy conservation, and adaptation. When either stage is disrupted, the other suffers, and the entire system of sleep efficiency and recovery breaks down. Deep sleep acts as the foundation of this cycle. It comes early in the night when adenosine pressure, the chemical signal that builds up during wakefulness, is at its peak. This pressure helps the brain sink into the slow, synchronized waves that define restorative deep sleep. During this phase, the body releases growth hormone, repairs damaged tissue, strengthens the immune system, and consolidates physical recovery. As the night progresses and adenosine levels drop, the body naturally transitions into lighter stages of sleep and begins to prioritize REM. This progression is crucial because the brain needs the metabolic clearance and restoration from deep sleep before it can engage in the complex neural processing of REM sleep. In other words, deep sleep sets the stage for REM. Without adequate deep sleep early in the night, the brain doesn't achieve the biochemical readiness to sustain healthy REM cycles later on. REM sleep, in contrast, functions like the brain's nightly therapy session and cognitive workshop. It is when the brain integrates and interprets the day's experiences, balancing emotional tone and building long-term memory. But REM cannot perform these functions properly without the physiological groundwork laid by deep sleep. Deep sleep restores glucose sensitivity and replenishes cellular energy, ensuring that neurons have the fuel required for the high metabolic demands of REM. The two phases form a feedback loop. Deep sleep rebuilds the physical substrate while REM optimizes its operation. Together, they maintain the equilibrium between body and brain, emotion and logic, resilience and sensitivity. The synergy between deep and REM sleep is perhaps most evident when the cycle is disrupted. If a person consistently cuts sleep short, as many do in modern society, the loss is not distributed evenly across stages. The earlier parts of the night, which contain the majority of deep sleep, may remain relatively intact, but the later REM-rich cycles are truncated. This means that even with 6 hours of sleep, the body may feel somewhat restored, yet the mind remains foggy, irritable, and emotionally volatile. Conversely, individuals who frequently wake during the night, whether due to stress, caffeine, alcohol, or sleep disorders, tend to lose deep sleep, impairing physical repair and metabolic regulation, even if total hours in bed seem sufficient. The result is an imbalance that undermines health span. A body without deep sleep becomes weak and inflamed. A mind without REM sleep becomes unstable and reactive. The timing of these cycles also relies heavily on circadian rhythm, the internal biological clock synchronized to the 24-hour light-dark cycle. Circadian signals determine when deep sleep dominates and when REM takes over. Artificial light exposure at night, irregular sleep schedules, and jet lag disrupt this synchronization, leading to a breakdown in the sequencing of deep and REM stages. The two no longer cooperate in an orderly progression, and the body's restorative systems become inefficient. This is one reason why people who maintain consistent sleep schedules and align their sleep with natural darkness often report deeper, more refreshing rest. They preserve the natural rhythm that balances both stages. On a physiological level, neurotransmitters govern the transitions between deep and REM sleep. Deep sleep is driven by high levels of GABA and low acetylcholine activity, creating a state of neural calm and metabolic slowdown. REM sleep, in contrast, emerges when acetylcholine levels surge, reactivating the cortex while suppressing motor output to prevent physical movement during dreams. The smooth transition between these chemical environments reflects a healthy brain. When disrupted through stress, stimulants, or certain medications, the balance between stages deteriorates, leaving sleep fragmented and less restorative. From the perspective of longevity, the synergy between deep and REM sleep is essential for maintaining both physical vitality and cognitive sharpness. Deep sleep keeps the body resilient by repairing tissues, regulating immune function, and stabilizing metabolic health. REM sleep keeps the mind adaptive by refining emotional control, creativity, and memory. Each night offers multiple opportunities to complete this cycle, but cutting sleep short or fragmenting it reduces the number of full cycles completed. Missing even one cycle means incomplete restoration for both mind and body. Over years, these micro deficits accumulate into chronic fatigue, hormonal imbalance, mood instability, and accelerated aging, the relationship between deep and REM sleep mirrors the duality of human health, body and mind, physiology and psychology, structure and function. Optimizing one at the expense of the other misses the point of how sleep works. The goal is not to maximize a single stage, but to preserve the seamless alternation between them. When that alternation is intact, each night becomes a coordinated process of renewal, the body rebuilt, the mind recalibrated, and the organism as a whole prepared to meet another day with resilience and clarity. REM sleep, or rapid eye movement sleep, represents one of the most fascinating and complex biological states the human body experiences. Unlike deep sleep, where the brain slows down for physical restoration, REM sleep is a paradoxical phase marked by heightened brain activity, vivid dreaming, and total muscle paralysis. It is during this stage that the brain conducts some of its most vital maintenance work, especially in terms of emotional regulation, cognitive processing, and memory consolidation. The balance between deep and REM sleep is not arbitrary. It is an evolutionary masterpiece that ensures both the body and mind recover in harmony. Understanding REM sleep is crucial for anyone seeking to enhance not only lifespan, but health span, the quality and functionality of those extra years. During REM sleep, the brain operates in a highly active, almost waking state. Neural firing patterns resemble those of wakefulness, yet the body is effectively paralyzed, a mechanism designed to prevent the enactment of dreams. This stage is when the brain sorts, organizes, and integrates the experiences of the day, transforming short-term memories into long-term storage. The hippocampus and neocortex engage in a kind of dialogue, replaying and reorganizing information to strengthen neural connections. This process allows humans to extract meaning from experiences, identify patterns, and form a coherent narrative from daily events. When REM sleep is truncated, memory consolidation becomes incomplete, leading to forgetfulness, impaired learning, and reduced creativity. Emotional processing during REM sleep is equally profound. The amygdala, a region responsible for emotional reactivity, becomes active, while stress-related neurotransmitters like noradrenaline drop to their lowest levels. This unique neurochemical environment allows the brain to reprocess emotional experiences with reduced reactivity, essentially stripping the sting from stressful memories. It's the mind's form of emotional therapy. People who experience consistent REM sleep show better emotional stability, resilience, and empathy, while those deprived of it are more prone to anxiety, irritability, and mood swings. Studies show that after traumatic events, individuals who lose REM sleep are at higher risk of developing post-traumatic stress disorder, as the brain misses its natural window to metabolize emotional pain. REM sleep also plays a key role in creativity and problem solving. Many scientific and artistic breakthroughs have been linked to insights that emerged after REM-rich sleep. This is because the brain during REM forms novel associations between seemingly unrelated ideas. It relaxes logical constraints, allowing for divergent thinking, the foundation of innovation. Functional MRI studies show that during REM sleep, associative networks in the brain light up, enabling creative connections that are inaccessible during waking cognition. In essence, REM sleep allows the mind to explore without boundaries, rewire its connections, and reorganize information in ways that expand perspective and adaptability. The physiological benefits of REM sleep extend beyond the brain, is closely tied to autonomic nervous system balance. While deep sleep is dominated by parasympathetic activity, which restores the body, REM introduces subtle oscillations between sympathetic and parasympathetic dominance, effectively training the cardiovascular system. This nightly fluctuation may improve heart rate variability, an indicator of overall autonomic fitness. REM deprivation, on the other hand, is associated with increased blood pressure, heightened inflammatory markers, and impaired glucose metabolism. Over time, these changes contribute to metabolic syndrome, cardiovascular disease, and shortened health span. REM sleep also plays a role in hormonal balance. During this phase, testosterone secretion in men and estrogen, progesterone balance in women reach essential peaks, supporting reproductive health, muscle maintenance, and overall vitality. When REM sleep is fragmented, often due to sleep apnea, alcohol use, or late night exposure to artificial light, hormonal rhythms are disrupted. This can lead to reduced libido, fatigue, and altered appetite regulation. The link between REM sleep and leptin-ghrelin balance, the hormones governing hunger and satiety, further illustrates how disrupted REM patterns can contribute to weight gain and obesity. From a longevity perspective, the absence of adequate REM sleep carries profound implications. Chronic REM deprivation correlates with cognitive decline, mood disorders, and neurodegeneration. Longitudinal studies have shown that individuals with reduced REM sleep in midlife have a significantly higher risk of developing dementia later on. This is partly because REM supports synaptic plasticity, the brain's ability to rewire and adapt. As we age, the proportion of REM sleep naturally declines, which may explain, in part, why emotional resilience and cognitive flexibility decrease with age. Protecting REM sleep, therefore, becomes an essential longevity strategy. one that complements efforts to preserve deep sleep and circadian stability. The modern environment poses constant threats to REM quality. Irregular sleep schedules, caffeine consumption late in the day, and especially alcohol are major REM disruptors. Alcohol acts as a sedative that suppresses REM in the early night and causes rebound REM later, often accompanied by vivid, fragmented dreams that fail to deliver true restoration. Screen exposure before bed also delays REM onset by suppressing melatonin production and shifting circadian timing. Lifestyle choices that maintain circadian rhythm, consistent sleep times, exposure to morning sunlight, and avoidance of stimulants at night are non-negotiable for protecting REM integrity. Ultimately, REM sleep is the mind's nightly renewal ritual. It is when the brain integrates the day's experiences, refines emotional stability, and strengthens the architecture of learning and memory. It is as vital to mental and emotional longevity as deep sleep is to physical longevity. Ignoring REM sleep is like skipping the part of healing that makes sense of the pain. Without it, the body may recover, but the mind remains unsettled, reactive, and less adaptive to life's complexities. REM is not simply a stage of sleep. It is the essence of mental evolution that plays out every night, quietly shaping who we become and how well we thrive. The circadian rhythm is the body's internal timing system, a finely tuned biological clock that orchestrates countless physiological processes over a 24-hour period. Every cell in the body follows this rhythm, from neurons in the brain to mitochondria and muscles, and sleep is its most visible output. The timing, depth, and quality of both deep and REM sleep depend directly on the integrity of this internal rhythm. When it is synchronized, the body operates in harmony with hormones, metabolism, and cellular repair aligned to specific times of day. When it becomes disrupted through irregular sleep patterns, late night light exposure, or inconsistent daily routines, this synchronization collapses, leading to fragmented sleep, metabolic dysfunction, and accelerated aging. Circadian rhythm is not simply about sleep timing. It is the master regulator that determines when the body repairs, when it performs, and when it deteriorates. At the core of this system is the suprachiasmatic nucleus, a cluster of about 20,000 neurons in the hypothalamus that functions as the master clock. It receives direct input from the eyes and synchronizes bodily rhythms to the external light-dark cycle. Light exposure in the morning signals the brain to suppress melatonin production and elevate cortisol, triggering alertness and metabolic readiness for the day. As evening approaches and light fades, melatonin secretion begins, body temperature drops, and the brain prepares for sleep. This daily oscillation defines when deep and REM sleep occur. Deep sleep dominates the early part of the night when melatonin levels peak and core body temperature reaches its lowest point, while REM sleep is concentrated in the early morning hours when temperature and cortisol begin to rise again, disrupting this natural pattern by staying up late under artificial light or sleeping irregularly, throws off the timing of both phases and reduces their restorative potential. Modern lifestyle habits often interfere with the body's circadian rhythm. Exposure to blue light from screens after sunset delays melatonin secretion, pushing back sleep onset and shortening total sleep duration. Nighttime eating also disrupts circadian signaling because digestion and insulin activity are designed to operate during daylight hours. When food intake extends into late evening, it misaligns the body's peripheral clocks, those in the liver, pancreas, and gut, from the master clock in the brain. This internal dysynchrony is linked to metabolic disorders, insulin resistance, and impaired fat metabolism. Even small shifts, such as going to bed 2 or 3 hours later on weekends, create what researchers call social jet lag, a chronic misalignment that mirrors the effects of frequent time zone travel. Over time, these disruptions impair deep sleep, fragment REM cycles, and diminish the efficiency of hormonal rhythms. Temperature also plays a crucial role in circadian regulation. The body naturally cools at night to facilitate deep sleep, and this cooling signals the onset of slow wave activity in the brain. A warm room or late night exercise raises core body temperature, delaying sleep onset and reducing time spent in deep sleep. Maintaining a cool, dark environment supports melatonin production and allows the body to follow its natural thermal rhythm. Similarly, consistent exposure to bright natural light in the morning helps anchor the circadian rhythm, signaling the start of a new cycle. People who receive at least 30 minutes of morning sunlight tend to fall asleep faster at night, maintain better sleep quality, and exhibit stronger hormonal patterns throughout the day. The circadian rhythm also governs the release of hormones critical to energy balance and longevity. Cortisol peaks in the morning to promote wakefulness and declines throughout the day, while growth hormone and melatonin rise at night to support cellular repair. When sleep timing drifts out of alignment, these hormonal patterns flatten, leading to fatigue, mood instability, and impaired recovery. Studies show that even a few nights of circadian misalignment, such as shift work or traveling across multiple time zones, can elevate inflammatory markers, increase blood pressure, and reduce insulin sensitivity. Chronic disruption accelerates biological aging by damaging mitochondrial function and altering gene expression related to metabolism and immunity. Synchronizing sleep with the circadian rhythm is one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to optimize both deep and REM sleep. Going to bed and waking up at consistent times helps the body anticipate sleep, making transitions between sleep stages smoother and more efficient. Consistency strengthens the brain's timekeeping mechanisms, ensuring that deep sleep occurs during its optimal window and REM sleep cycles are preserved. Conversely, erratic schedules confuse the internal clock, leading to delayed sleep onset, frequent awakenings, and shortened REM periods toward morning. Beyond sleep, the circadian rhythm influences every aspect of daytime performance. Alertness, coordination, cognitive function, and mood all fluctuate predictably according to this internal timing. When the rhythm is disrupted, cognitive sharpness declines, emotional reactivity increases, and decision-making suffers. The brain becomes less capable of managing stress, and the immune system weakens. This is why maintaining circadian alignment isn't merely about sleeping better. It's about preserving the body's entire system of regulation. In the context of Healthspan, the circadian rhythm represents a bridge between daily behavior and long-term vitality. Aligning sleep, light exposure, meal timing, and activity with this rhythm enhances mitochondrial efficiency, stabilizes hormonal balance, and supports cognitive longevity. The body's repair systems evolve to function within this rhythmic pattern, not against it. Each night of aligned sleep reinforces that natural cycle, while every disruption compounds physiological stress. Protecting the circadian rhythm is therefore not a lifestyle preference. It is a biological imperative for extending the quality and resilience of life. Healthspan, unlike lifespan, is not about how long we live, but about how well we live. It is the measure of years spent free from chronic disease, physical decline, and cognitive deterioration. At the core of extending healthspan lies one of the most underappreciated biological forces, sleep. It is the single most effective intervention available to enhance longevity without drugs or invasive measures. High quality sleep, especially when both deep and REM phases are preserved, is not a passive state, but a proactive biological process that determines how the body repairs, regulates, and renews itself. When sleep is compromised, the deterioration of metabolic health, immune function, and neurological integrity accelerates. Conversely, when sleep is prioritized and protected, every system in the body benefits, from mitochondria to mood. Sleep is not just a nightly pause between days. It is an active maintenance period where the body performs the equivalent of cellular housekeeping, emotional recalibration, and metabolic tuning. During deep sleep, growth hormone surges, driving tissue repair, muscle recovery, and the regeneration of immune cells. Simultaneously, the glymphatic system in the brain clears out waste products, including toxic proteins that accumulate during wakefulness. Without sufficient deep sleep, these toxins persist, increasing the risk of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Over time, inadequate deep sleep accelerates aging at the cellular level through oxidative stress, inflammation, and impaired DNA repair. The body, unable to complete its nightly renewal, begins to age faster than its chronological years would suggest. REM sleep complements this process by maintaining emotional and cognitive health. During REM, neural connections are strengthened, memories are consolidated, and the brain integrates learning into long-term knowledge. Emotional experiences are reprocessed, allowing the brain to separate signal from noise, to remember the lesson without reliving the stress. A consistent REM cycle reduces anxiety, stabilizes mood, and enhances problem-solving ability. Chronic REM deprivation, on the other hand, increases amygdala reactivity, diminishes prefrontal control, and makes emotional regulation more difficult. People who sleep poorly are not only physically fatigued, but also emotionally fragile, reactive, and less resilient. This emotional instability contributes to poor decision making, increased stress, and unhealthy behavioral patterns that further damage health span. Sleep also governs metabolic efficiency, insulin sensitivity, appetite control, and energy balance all fluctuate according to sleep quality and duration. When sleep is fragmented or shortened, leptin levels, the hormone signaling satiety, drop, while ghrelin, the hunger hormone, rises. The result is increased appetite and a preference for high-calorie foods. Chronic sleep deprivation drives weight gain, insulin resistance, and systemic inflammation, creating the foundation for metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes. Moreover, poor sleep disrupts circadian rhythm, throwing off the synchronization of hormonal cycles that regulate glucose metabolism and fat storage. Over decades, this metabolic dysregulation contributes not only to chronic disease, but to the visible and invisible markers of premature aging. The link between sleep and immune health is equally profound. During sleep, particularly deep sleep, the immune system releases cytokines that coordinate the body's defense mechanisms against infections and inflammation. People who consistently sleep fewer than 6 hours per night are significantly more likely to catch viral infections and recover more slowly from illness. Sleep deprivation also reduces vaccine efficacy by impairing the body's ability to generate long-term immune memory. Chronic low-grade inflammation, a hallmark of aging known as inflammaging, is amplified by insufficient sleep. This inflammation silently erodes cardiovascular and neurological health, accelerating the decline of multiple organ systems. From a neurological standpoint, sleep preserves cognitive longevity. It strengthens synaptic plasticity, the brain's capacity to learn, adapt, and form new memories. During both deep and REM phases, synapses that are no longer needed are pruned while valuable ones are reinforced. This process keeps the brain efficient, flexible, and capable of high-level reasoning. Sleep deprivation disrupts this balance, leading to mental fatigue, decreased focus, and impaired judgment. Over time, the inability to maintain healthy sleep patterns correlates strongly with cognitive decline, dementia, and reduced executive function in aging adults. The loss of even a single hour of REM or deep sleep over months compounds into measurable cognitive deterioration. On a hormonal level, sleep acts as a master regulator. Testosterone, estrogen, and growth hormone are all synchronized with the sleep-wake cycle. When sleep is inconsistent, these hormonal rhythms flatten, resulting in reduced vitality, decreased muscle mass, lower libido, and weakened bone density. For men, poor sleep lowers testosterone by as much as 15% within a week. For women, irregular sleep patterns disrupt reproductive hormones and increase the risk of metabolic complications. Sleep also controls cortisol rhythms, the stress hormone that, when chronically elevated, damages tissues and accelerates aging. Quality sleep restores cortisol balance, allowing the body to maintain calm during waking hours and preserve physiological stability. Extending health span requires consistency in sleep habits as much as it does in nutrition and exercise. Going to bed and waking up at the same time each day anchors the circadian rhythm, ensuring that deep and REM sleep occur in proper sequence. Maintaining a dark, cool, and quiet environment enhances sleep quality, while reducing alcohol, caffeine, and late night screen use prevents the suppression of restorative sleep cycles. These are not trivial lifestyle tweaks. They are biological necessities that shape long-term vitality. Ultimately, the path to longevity does not rely solely on medical innovation or genetic luck. It depends on how effectively we allow the body to restore itself each night. Sleep is the foundation upon which every other pillar of health rests. Without it, exercise recovery falters, nutrition loses impact, and stress management collapses. Prioritizing high-quality sleep is not merely about feeling rested. It is about preserving the cellular, hormonal, and cognitive systems that determine how long and how well we thrive